So welcome everyone. I know I can't see everybody in the chat, but if you have any questions whatsoever, you can click on the chat box and you can just shoot over the questions. I think we might have time for about 3 questions. So welcome everyone to Co-labs Coworking's first LATAM chat. My name is Emilia and I'll be your moderator today. We'll be doing a series of chats in the coming weeks, so look out for that. We're looking to cover various topics, across all industries, from how a business preparing digitally, from overcoming financial difficulties, staying safe and healthy during this time, coping with distress situations as well. I think that's one thing that a lot of people are trying to figure out as well. And then from businesses trying to stay active online, like how do you engage? There's just so many things out there virtually presented, but hey, what works, right? Not everyone can put on a show. So how can businesses stand out? That's why we want to keep you guys informed by identifying organizations and brands that are doing amazing things, from identifying options with turnaround strategies. So I think Karl's going to be touching a little bit about that. So I'm excited to hear more. To stabilizing, I think a lot of companies are also identifying ways to stabilize, with cash flows, issues and whatnot. To value realization, and of course execution, right? So what do we have in store for you guys today? We're looking to chat about how businesses can stay afloat if you have the right strategy and positioning in place. So I'm excited to learn more about how these companies turn things around rapidly during MCO. So I hope everyone's doing okay. And hopefully all of you can learn a thing or two from today's session. So let's chat. So today we have Benjamin Teo. Ben, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Founder. Hi, just cleaning my glasses.
So everyone knows who's everybody. Okay, all the panel speakers. So Benjamin Teo, founder of Co-labs Coworking. Say hi, Ben.
Hi there. Hi everyone.
Awesome. Okay, so Co-labs Coworking. I'm with Co-labs as well. I'm one of the community managers. So we launched with a vision of co-working as the new era of work, where individuals, teams, corporates can thrive and flourish in modern workspaces. With the backing of Paramount Property, Berhad Industry, the experience and in property development, Co-labs is able to expand quickly to design and build ideal offices to cater to everyone's needs and wants. Sam Kwan, can you say hi?
Hi everyone.
All right, Sam's the CEO of Beyond Infinity Consultancy, who has been providing consultancy and training services for businesses for 9 years. So he's a certified trainer under Taobao University and Lazada WeCommerce. He focuses on helping businesses transition from offline to online, boosting their online revenue. So how awesome is that, guys? Next, we have Ian. Ian, say hi.
Hey guys.
Okay, that's Ian, Business Development Head of Pickupp. Awesome guy. And so Pickupp is actually an on-demand delivery optimization platform with presence in Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam. So the services include, 4 hours same-day delivery, same-day and next-day delivery for customers in Klang Valley and also West Malaysia. And up next, we have Karl Lu. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi, okay. Founder and CEO of ServisHero, regional services marketplace with operations in Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. And founder actually of a new business unit called Disinfection to You, which has now disinfected tens of millions of square feet of Southeast Asia offices, of Southeast Asia since launching a month ago. So 1 month ago, when everyone was figuring out what to do at home during the lockdown, Karl was basically launching a new business. So yeah, great to have everyone on board. I would like to say thank you so much for taking the time off to chat with us today. So I'm just going to dive into my first question. So again, those who just joined us, if you have any questions, any given time about anything, please drop them into the chat box, and please keep your mic mute so then we can make sure that we can hear everybody in the chat as well. Good? Awesome? All right. So I think what's on everyone's mind as well, right? What are businesses doing? So we're just about 1 month into MCO, the movement control order. What has happened and changed so far in your organization? I think maybe you can touch on a little bit about that. Like any challenges that you faced the past month. What are some of your realization? Were there any mindset shift? If anyone can go, maybe Ben, you want to go first?
Sure. I think there's a lot to unpack in this question. It's quite broad. So perhaps I can start with what our initial response was. I think when we first entered the MCO period, it was a huge adjustment period, and there were a lot of immediate challenges that our company had to resolve for ourselves and also our stakeholders. The big one obviously was that group-wide, our company and all our employees are forced to adopt a work from home model, which this kind of decentralized model is very different how we've operated over the past almost 5 decades. We are a 50-year-old company now. And what that means is that a lot of our systems and our SOPs are quite, for the lack of a better word, antiquated now. So, and a lot of our managers and senior professionals might not have the kind of IT literacy that all you young kids have. So that was a big challenge, and continues to be a big challenge for us, trying to push this kind of decentralized, this remote working model to all our employees. Something that we are still facing today, but as everyone becomes a bit more acclimatized with this pattern, I think a lot of people have normalized. So we've had to deal with a lot of issues across across all our stakeholders, down even to our supply chain and our construction business. We had a big issue with our foreign workers as well. A lot of our subcontractors, a lot of their workers and manpower are foreign nationals. So these guys were not covered by any of the stimulus packages rolled out by the government. So these guys were left without pay, without proper accommodation. So we had to step in to at least to provide a stopgap measure to ensure that when we do come back post MCO, that our subcons have their manpower to continue to start work. So a lot of different challenges across the board for the company, but it's been we've had to, I think speed and discipline is key here. We had to really act fast and to address all the issues across the board for us.
Okay. Awesome stuff. Karl?
Yeah, I mean, I think thanks for that insight, Ben. It's I guess you guys are operating in a very different environment to us being such an established company with, I guess, SOPs that have been ingrained for so long. So I think it must have been very challenging for you to have to mobilize so quickly as a group, given the decades-long history of your company. But I think one thing that we both share in common is that I think we both never and are never anticipated or would ever have foreseen something this crazy or so dramatic, and having a change that happened so quickly is extremely challenging. So for us, I guess we'd been monitoring the situation since February and kind of been seeing a decline, a kind of a slow decline in our consumer existing business. So that's the on-demand cleaners, the on-demand technicians that we have on the platform. And I guess that around February, people were starting to get a little bit anxious about allowing strangers into their home, a little bit more awareness about personal hygiene and that kind of stuff in the space. Now, for us as an organization, we are distributed across 4 countries, and each country is operating on different kind of governmental guidelines, right? So some countries were on some form of lockdown, some no lockdown, some with advisory notices on how to behave. But in late, gosh, how long have we been in lockdown for?
1 month.
In March. In March.
For Malaysia,
it's been a lot longer. So I guess just prior to the lockdown, probably a week before the formal lockdown, ServisHero instituted a regional-wide work-from-home policy just to assure the safety of employees. And I know that was something top of mind for a lot of people. And initially, I think I was quite anxious with what work from home would mean for the organization. Could people be productive? How would we communicate effectively? How would we know if people were at work or if they were out doing something else? And so we trialed a couple of things, and then eventually what we settled on was we use Slack, right, to communicate as an organization. And so it's really simple. So in the morning when we're logged in for work, we say, good morning, we're logged in. When we're away from the keyboard, we let people know that we're away from the keyboard. And in the evening, we log out and we say, good night, we're logging out. And that sets an expectation for everyone on the team about when they can expect responses. So I think the big thing that you have to address when everyone is working in this kind of work from home environment is that teams rely on other team members to make decisions, right? And things are moving so fast that if you have no idea whether or not someone is responsive, you don't know whether or not they're ignoring you or that they're really having lunch or that they, are taking a mental health break or something, right? So you let them know things, then people can mobilize and plan and work more efficiently. So that's, I think, one of the big things that we implemented. So work from home was a big thing that changed for us. Obviously, the nature of our business, our pre-existing consumer business essentially collapsed, right? So on the day of the announcement of the MCO, basically the following day, we saw a complete collapse of pre-existing business. And then effectively we were like, well, this is do or die, right, guys? And even though you're working from home, I want the team to understand that right now is as unprecedented. We need to mobilize, we need to be innovative, and we need to execute. Sorry, I think I'm nearly going over my 4 minutes, but I think the last point I want to make is that the critical thing for us as an organization during this time, because it's unpredictable, things are changing so rapidly, is that we just need to be decisive. No one has perfect information, actually. So we don't know whether or not we're going to make the best decision, but it's the best with the limited kind of data and the rapidly evolving kind of situation. So getting into that mindset for the whole team, I think I did communicate with the team. I said, guys, we're going to make decisions. We're going to make it fast, and I need your buy-in. And we actually don't know what is going to happen tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, because everything is evolving, right? Things flip-flop. You can imagine, like, Singapore just 3 weeks ago told everyone, do not wear masks. Masks do not stop the spread. Government campaigns, every channel, every newspaper, telling people not to wear masks. As of yesterday, it is mandatory to wear a mask. So that type of kind of change means that as a business leader or decision maker, it's very difficult to make a perfect decision. So get used to the fact that your business will be making decisions with imperfect data, right? And mobilize the team to actually to just trust you, right?
Actually,
because
I agree.
Everyone has imperfect data.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that, because I think that right now there's so much uncertainty, right? There's no perfect formula that works. I mean, it's no different in Malaysia as well, where we have I think it was sometime last week when they announced certain businesses can go back to work, right? And then just a couple of days ago, they pulled it back and say, okay, we take it back. I don't think it works. So yeah, I think I feel that a lot of leaders and organizations should just take a deep dive and give it a go. Just try a lot of different things. If it doesn't work, try something else. Just so at least you're doing.
You've just got to form in your mind at least a reasonable thesis based on imperfect data and just commit, right? The worst thing you can do is flip flop, right?
Yeah.
So our decision to effectively drop everything and go into disinfection to you was a decision that was made very quickly. I mean, I think I had the idea. I registered the domain name and I said to the team, trust me. We need to go live in 36 hours.
Awesome.
And you know what? Despite everyone working from home, despite the challenges and the stress and the uncertainty, we launched a whole new business unit in 36 hours.
Right. Very impressive. Thank you, Karl. All right, Ian, do you want to touch on a little bit about Pickup and what you guys been up to?
Yeah, thanks, Amelia. I do resonate with what Karl was mentioning about needing to be reactive and dynamic to the ever-changing situation out there. I guess a few ways we're looking at it on the pickup side. As a business, we haven't really been as affected because day one of the PO, we're still business as usual because we're covered under the Postal Act. So we still need to function as a company and support all of our business partners. But of course, only the warehouse staff are basically active duty right now on premise. 90% of our staff force is work from home. In fact, we took a preemptive step to implement this work from home policy even before the 18th of March when the MCO came in. So I guess it has helped our staff internally as well. I think more than anything else is psychological, right? Whether it be because you're just caged in at home, you're surrounded by family, interpret how you like with that. But it's challenging. It's a very different environment. Whereas when you're at work, it's a structured kind of a environment. But I think as a whole, what really struck us from a business perspective was how quickly the dynamics of our merchants had changed. Right, the volumes that we were getting from all the sectors, literally overnight, just changed over. Let me give you a sense of this. So florists have stopped. Printing businesses, fashion brands, a lot of the professional services that we used to serve, like accountancy firms, legal, engineering, no more documents from us because they're not even coming into work. These, I guess, in retrospect now, it's not surprising. They're all non-essential. But then on the other side of the fence, we have a lot of customers that just suddenly went gangbusters, right? Food segments, whether it be coffee, nuts, health snacks, the general e-commerce like Lazada has just continued to go very strong. Pharmacy, whether it's medication or whatnot, has just gone through the roof. So, one thing that became quite obvious to many of us that was, as this reaction, and we are like obviously improving the way that we're serving a lot of these new clientele. This is also something that we have to accept as a new norm, right? Grocery business and getting a food delivery, for example. It's going to be something we people get out of this MCO and still want to continue having because they're either used to it or they just don't want to fear like mass reinfection again. So a lot of these like nuances are going to stay for the long term.
Yeah. So actually, out of curiosity, what are the three things that Pickup has been delivering? Like any trends that you noticed the past month that picked up literally versus previous before MCO? Was there any like industry, like top three industry? I mean, aside from Lazada and Shopee and
Sure.
Zalora, were there any?
Commerce platforms are still strong, as you pointed out as well. But I guess the top three that have really grown very significantly since the start of the MCO are groceries. We're also pivoting to handle a lot of hot food merchants, right? Whether they are food platforms on their own, aggregators as you call them, or individual F&B merchants, right, who just need help delivering their food items. And I guess the third significant category is sanitary products, right? Whether it's masks, hand sanitizers, things like that. So those have kind of gone through the roof. Whether pharmacy or how would I say safety gear merchants who typically would have been in a B2B kind of environment, but they have now had to step to a B2C environment for no choice. A lot of the merchants that we're also meeting are very offline, right? So obviously in the current environment where they're not able to come to or receive customers at their branches, they have to figure out how to get online. So because they don't have really access to a lot of platforms, they don't know how to use it. We have to basically rush out what was about 2 months ago still an MVP. Today is much more how would I say a developed product on Pickup or Shop and Pickup. So we have customers literally listing their SKUs on our app so that customers can find their products and also have us deliver it for them. So we're trying to help as many businesses as we can get out there, continue business, continue the revenue stream. But sadly to say, obviously we can't save everyone. There's a lot of industries that are going to get affected from this MCO.
I think it's in a way it's a good thing as well because it forces businesses that never wanted to explore being online really now like it's all a matter about survival, right? Like you really have to learn how to sell your products online. I even saw like Yao Yao is selling their your portfolio online right now, right? Like they do Grab and stuff. Previously they didn't have that. So I thought it was quite
Amelia,
interesting to see how different brands, like, yeah.
on that point, I was saying that I saw a really interesting or funny meme, which is like,
Mm-hmm.
what drove your innovation strategy in 2020? And it was like the CIO, the CTO, the CEO, or COVID-19. And then it's like someone circled COVID-19, and it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about businesses trying to be proactively pivoting their business model. We even have cases of florists getting into bakery business now, right?
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
about,
everyone's just trying different things and
yeah, and very successfully actually, in fact. So cake deliveries have gone through the roof, obviously, for, they miss eating cake, they can't go out to a cake shop. So yeah, all these kind of things are happening, like pivoting. A lot of our merchants are pivoting to survive.
yeah. All right. Thank you, Ian. Sam, you would like to share a little bit about what you've been up to the past month? Any challenges that you like to share, or any realization on your end?
Sure. Yeah. I'll sum up in 3 points. I think number one, no revenue, disrupted revenue. I think cash flow and reorganizing communication with either your staff or your clients, I think that has been severely disrupted. However, the silver lining is we actually receive a lot more inquiries and opportunities from businesses seeking advices on how to navigate through this storm. I think one of the realization that I had is I think for any businesses, apart from physical resources, survival will actually need a lot of hard work and a change in mindset.
Yeah, I think that's true. Like at the end of the day, I think it's all about adapting, right, to the new normal. And I guess that comes to our next question, like, as the pandemic is really reshaping how people work more than ever, really, and redefining some skill sets, across like different industries. There's even vulnerable workers, that face challenges with this whole transition. And some workers even get lost, or some people get lost in the system as well. So maybe some of you can just shed a little bit of light about how you're guiding your team through this whole thing, how you're reshaping your team, as well as with the business as well. Ben, would you like to go first?
Sure, thanks. Yeah, like I previously said, I think all businesses or most businesses have had to adopt this work from home model, which is something that most businesses had not adopted prior to this. So especially for older companies like ours, we've had more structural challenges. So I think there are 3 key factors that underpin proper introduction of these kind of work from home models. The first is structure, then culture, and technology. So structure, we've seen a move away from a centralized to a decentralized model. So what that has meant is that we've had to redefine roles, redefine workflows and SOPs to navigate this organizational structure. And this is something that we see that we will adopt post MCO as well, as a form of our BCPD initiatives. We are going to be moving our teams across all the different physical locations at Co-labs and all our physical offices at Paramount to create satellite teams to ensure the functionality of a team or of a department if a team was, or if a center or location was contaminated with the virus. On top of that, culture is very important as well. I think it's very important to cultivate the right company culture and workflow that drives performance during this remote work. Because remote work is it's a new thing, a new phenomenon for most of us. How do we, I think it's up to us as an organization and as a business to set the ground rules of what is expected of them, like what Karl was saying. I think that's really good, Karl, that you have everyone clock in and clock out every day. I think it's trying to cultivate this right kind of mindset that, hey, this is what you're supposed to be on call from 9 to 6. And having the right ground rules to be able to establish the right kind of parameters when it comes to remote work. And lastly is, of course, is technology. think most businesses have adopted a suite of tech tools to facilitate meetings, decision making, and communication remotely. And that's why you've seen, Zoom do so well over the past couple of weeks. I know now they've come against some headwinds with their data protection and security, but it's very important for an organization to set up or adopt these kind of tech tools to be able to facilitate remote work. So we're using now Microsoft Teams to facilitate our communication channels, and that's why we're here today. And we're also exploring productivity tools like your Asanas, your Trellos, your Mondays of this world, to allow us to be able to manage and across different locations, manage remotely. I think this also is very interesting to us as a co-working operator, because this shift has actually seen a lot of businesses that traditionally didn't consider co-working, maybe because they were too they're like a traditional industry, or they were deemed too big. They are now coming to us to set up remote offices, to set up satellite offices or backup offices as part of their business continuity plans. So I think a lot of businesses now are being prudent to explore these kind of decentralized models, so that they can prepare themselves for the new norm once they come back to work after the MCO.
Yeah, awesome stuff. I think there are a lot of really efficient work applications out there. I think the common ones are Slack, Asana. I think a lot of people don't really know Asana yet, but it's free as well. One that we've used is Monday.com. I know it gets a bit confusing because it's like, did you check Monday? An application as well. And that what's good about it is that it's different from before, right? How everyone relies on emails and updates on meetings. There's a lot of meetings, but right now everything seems to be a little bit more transparent, because everything is basically on the app. So if it's not listed down, then what's the update, right? So it helps it also helps with working with different departments as well. But it's transparent now, basically. Everyone can see what everyone's working on and can follow up with that as well. So yeah, highly recommend that.
It's interesting because ServisHero was an organization that's born on the cloud. Our technology is hosted on the cloud. We've been using Slack since day one. We use Google Suite as our primary, office suite. And I guess the pandemic has shown us how we can use the tools more effectively, right? So I think Ben was talking about a traditional organization transitioning to the cloud. So we were a organization born in the cloud, but still working under the confines of a traditional understanding of what a business environment should look like, right? So for us, we use cloud computing, but we're in a physical office, at Co-labs. So how we treat the Co-lab space may be different going forward. I think it's still a very important part of our company, but how we treat it is, I think, going to be different. So maybe the way that we arrange our desks, do we need to be in desks? Does it matter that if you're sitting next to each other in a row together? I'm also reassessing whether or not I need to travel every 5 to 7 days to go to all the countries, right? Like, I've been stuck in for more than a month now, but the team has been working very effectively, and we've been using cloud tools, collaborative tools, to be honest, do things faster than I've ever seen it done before in the history of ServisHero.
Nice.
I don't know whether this is the right platform, but it'd be interesting to see how productive the panelists have been and your teams have been, because I think what we've discovered at Co-labs and at Paramount actually is that a lot of people find working from home to be very conducive, very productive. There's a lot of accountability once you adopt these kind of tech tools, to allow for a lot of visibility to see what work is going on, what are the timelines being given, and to be able to track essentially what our employees are being up to. So I
think
don't know
what
whether
is
this is the
what,
right.
yeah. No, I think that's really that. I think that's the point. I think we should discuss it. I think it's I've got some points to chime in here. So obviously the situation that we're in, it's not just like cloud computing or collaboration tools and how they make things better, but the situation is unique because there's a pandemic, economic recessionary threat, right, as well. So you're kind of jump started and thinking, shit, my organization's not secure or my job is not secure. So then you have this kind of adrenaline that kind of, I think, boosts a little bit of productivity. There is a risk as well that it kind of decreases productivity because not everyone handles stress the same way, right? So I think if there's anyone from my team listening on this right now, they're probably sick of hearing from me. We've got 36 hours. We've got 36 hours. We've got 36 hours. And that is a magical number where we come up with an idea and the execution time frame is 36 hours. And I got comfortable saying 36 hours because whereas, to launch a new category on ServisHero used to take months. Okay? There's tech, there's the operations, there's a training, there's a marketing strategy around that. But then when we launched Disinfection to You in 36 hours, I was like, hey guys, you tricked me. You tricked me all this time. You can totally do it in 36 hours. Anything, right? If you put your mind to it, right? So, so I think the tools have made it really efficient, right? So everything is on the cloud, collaborating on slides, documents, designs, UX, operational information disseminated across all the different countries at one time. We're launching new countries. So actually over the course of the next month, we've several new countries going live as well. That's it's for us at least. I think it's safe to say pleasantly surprised with the increase in productivity. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point actually, because you have you and your team you have a goal to reach, right? And so once it's effectively communicated, everyone knows what they have to do. Everyone's just focused on creating Disinfection to You as well. So
that communication strategy is really important. If we have time, I can talk about that. So I think I have a lot of learnings. I've learned a lot over the last 4 weeks on effective strategy communication during crisis. So I can share some of that stuff later.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of talks on recession post COVID-19. What are some of your predictions inside? If there's any post MCO, and how would it affect businesses moving? Sam, do you want to touch on a little bit about some of your predictions?
Right. So I guess number one, I think I like the optimistic view that that the recession will come post COVID-19. I mean, to be frank, recession has already happened even way before COVID-19. Look at hotels, look at tourism, look at manufacturing. I think the trend is going to be here and it will continue to be here until a vaccine is found. So we all have to ride it out. I mean, there are businesses that can adapt to stay afloat. So just now, let's talk about Yao Yao, right? They're also selling, online as well, right? I mean, to all the ice cream parlors out there, people are going to come for ice cream again. So sell vouchers, keep your business afloat. Yoga teachers, fitness, spend time looking into your videos, your blogs, be the front runner to educate within your discipline. So grab the market share. The best thing you can do is you can actually give me a call. But let's put that aside, right? On the post MCO part, right? I think we have to be very careful. It is a very thin line balance between life and getting back to business as usual. So whatever post MCO scenario is, let us not forget the biggest lesson in this pandemic. Life is precious. So for all businesses out there, I mean, if you can choose to be kind, you can postpone it, delay it. I think let's do it, right? And here as well, I think in a way we are very appreciative because I think during this period, right, Co-labs were also giving a very empathic towards their tenants. So I think thank you very much to Co-labs and Paramount Property. And the idea here is this, it is important to have cash flow than to have no cash flow as well. So during this period, a lot of landlords are appreciating that they have tenants rather than have no tenants, right? So I think that's one way to look in terms of post-MCO and current MCO.
Yeah, just to give you guys a bit of insight, Karl, Sam, and Ian, they're all tenants, members of Co-labs. So we actually all met through co-working. So yeah, co-working is definitely the way to go in the future, guys.
I honestly would like to present a bit more of a pessimistic view. I think it's very important to look at it quite prudently. I think the likelihood of a fast or a V-shaped kind of recovery is becoming less and less likely as the economic impact of this pandemic continues to roll on, and it becomes clearer. In fact, I think the IMF only yesterday came out with an article or something, or quote saying that this will be the worst economic downturn in modern history, way worse than '08, way worse than '98, and comparable to the Great Depression of the 1930s. With that, we've seen that they're predicting more developed countries like the US facing a negative GDP growth of about 6%, developing countries like Malaysia facing a 1% shrinking of the economy. So I think it's very important to be very prudent moving forward in terms of your planning. Like Sam said, liquidity is key in these times. So do your financial stress tests. Do your cash flow kind of projections based on like very pessimistic scenarios in order to really establish the understanding of where you are in terms of cash flow management. Because I think the economic impacts of COVID-19 will be felt for many months to come, and I think some business models will go extinct. You're looking at like cinemas. I don't think many cinemas will survive, and whether the way people go about consuming new content, consuming new movies be very different, because you're already starting to see like big blockbuster movies being debuted on Apple TV, on Google Play, and all this kind of stuff. Now I think you will see this shift continue. You'll see. Yeah.
Interesting point about cinema as well. I mean, when Netflix and iFlix came out, everyone was just going to the cinema because, better viewing experience, right? Larger screens, better sound systems and all that. But I think, even, with smart TVs, they're like quite affordable nowadays. It's not as expensive as it used to be like back in the day, right? So yeah, I think, and there's a lot of resources out there as well. That's all free right now. There's Broadway HD that's giving out free. People can watch Broadway basically from their home. There's even live viewings, like streamings of different zoos around the world. So people can actually basically have that experience back at home as well. So that's true. And it's interesting. I mean, we'll never know what happens, right? But interesting to see what will happen in the next 6 to 12 and 18 months from here on out.
Yeah, I want to add kind of predictions as well. So I think it's inevitable. I think the IMF kind of results or predictions were basically a confirmation of what everyone knew lah. I think over the last month or few months of going through this COVID-19, I think me and peers, I think as soon as the MCO was announced, already chatted within the startup community about cost cutting, layoffs, and businesses have a very critical role. An organization that they provide income stability and all that kind of stuff to people. If there are going to be cost cuts, if there are going to be salary cuts, if there are going to be layoffs, obviously people have less spending power. Getting a new job is going to be harder. It definitely will be harder. And people's spending priorities change, right? As a result of that, right? We've got a 6-month holiday on our mortgages, but what happens after 6 months, right? What happens to people's priorities when they know that they've got a cash crunch? So, we're reassessing our business. Is an on-demand premium cleaner something that's going to survive post-COVID when people are counting every penny? Probably not. you know? People are going to be prioritizing things related to essential living, you know, health services, education, food, right? And not luxury food anymore, right? They're not going to be spending at cinemas. You know, cinemas, for one thing, it's one thing about getting a similar AV experience at home. But really, it's that, would you spend that same amount of money on overpriced popcorn, you know, a cinema ticket, as well as bearing the risk of infection? No, probably not. And you know what? Great kind of technology innovations are going to come out of this. And we've seen Netflix party being an example of addressing one of the key things about going to a cinema is that social experience, which is now replicated and maybe even more fun, right? Now that you have a Netflix party. So yeah, I think I have a pessimistic view about the general economy, but an optimistic view if someone is able to create new industries that never existed before. You know, Ben, when you presented about Paramount being now within the psyche of large corporations looking to de-risk physical environments as well as to reassess their real estate needs. I mean, this is a type of thinking that people need to adopt, right? Creating new S-curves, basically, right? You know, I'm preparing for the new normal when it comes to virus containment, right? Because it's COVID-19, but what happens to COVID-20, COVID-21, whatever, you know, like all these kind of mutations that are going to happen. The world is much more aware. We weren't aware now because we haven't seen something like this since the Black Plague, right? We've never lived, our parents have never lived, our grandparents potentially have never lived through anything like this, but it's an awakening now, right? So everyone must be prepared for this. So new normals, things today collapsing, but it is without doubt, you have to create something new in order to be relevant in 2020 and beyond, right? You know, that's my view, you know. I just want to add one more thing because it's not just about an employer perspective, right? Here we're actually talking about employees and actually enabling those that we sadly may have had to let go, right? Those who were working on a platform, a gig economy platform like ours that are vulnerable and actually lose jobs because demands for their services collapse. What do we do? What's our responsibility as a business? So I can tell you some of the things that we've done to react to this new normal, right? So I presented the kind of services which I predict are going to be in decline and continue to be declined post lockdown. Well, what do we do about these guys? Because they depended on our platform to earn an income. So with Disinfection to You, we actually brought in professionals to retrain, reskill, retool a lot of the providers that we have to then deliver services on the up and coming kind of categories that are not vulnerable to collapse, right? Disinfection. So we got to start thinking about that with our own internal staff. What if we do need to make that tough decision to let people go? What are we doing to help them move on to a next opportunity, right? Secure their future or even allay their current concerns. Not just them, but their family, right? So their husbands may be at risk, their wives, you know, their parents may get ill. What are we doing to react? Because there is a mental health element here that we need to address. Now, I'm a real advocate of mental health in the workplace, right? And so I kind of see things in many kind of aspects. When you talked about vulnerability, and I know that the question really is discussing vulnerable employees and workers. I think post lockdown, the most important thing will be the mental health of workers. I say this because I have seen actual examples of vulnerable people, especially B40 community, undergoing a tremendous amount of stress during this time. I'll give you one clear example, which really shocked me and really made me think about what was happening at a B40 level. Look, to be honest, everyone on this call right now lives in a bubble, right? Like, you may not see this. I work with B40 every day through my platform. the most kind of shocking thing I saw was that the security guards at my condo, they ran out of hand sanitizer and masks. Now, they obviously don't have access to the same amount of knowledge and data about COVID. All they see is a bunch of privileged people that are locked in their homes watching Netflix and eating ice cream on demand, right? They see that everyone who has the ability to being locked in their home, not traveling, not being on the roads, but they're on the front lines and an invisible disease is around them. So they're freaking out because they think they can die any day, right? They're forced to work as an essential service provider in facilities management. And these security guards sent out an SOS via a voice message on WhatsApp saying, tolong, like, please send us masks, send us sanitizers. Anyone has it, please send, we've run out. And they were panicking. So that prolonged kind of stress over like a month or two, damn it. There's a lot of people going to have PTSD after this. And if we don't help them out, we got a whole bunch of a society that is going to be fucked, right? So we've got the stresses in the B40. We've got the stressors that are happening to our own employees that are vulnerable and now worrying about their families, their economic stability, the future, whether or not their industry is even relevant, right? They're probably thinking, well, I have a job because no one's buying popcorn from cinemas anymore, right? Or people working in healthcare are scared of infection, but people working in elder care are scared that their whole industry is eliminated because all old people are dead, So much stuff going on.
Yeah, I resonate with that as well, Karl. There's obviously the psychological aspect of this, whether it be for P40 or white collar category, is something which I don't think many of us have talked about. I, for one, I guess any managerial person, they ought to be thinking about instituting some change in staff like this. In an environment where you're kind of working on your own turf, right, at home or with your families around, it can really take a toll, right? It's already been a month now, and no one's seeing the end of the MCO period. Like some people are touting maybe it's until the end of May. So I think psychologically, while there are quarters of society where activity will increase because there's actually less distractions now, there's less meetings going on, so they're able to focus more on work. I'm a parent, so I'm constantly surrounded with kids, and there is a lot of noise that happens throughout a work day now. So the dynamics is quite a sense of routine is still quite important. The tools, whether they be on cloud or whatnot, are just a means to, right? I'm still trying to foster, apart from the regular daily, weekly meetings that we have across regions, even locally amongst my team, I'm trying to encourage individuals, right, to just out of the blue contact each other on video. If anything, I think these human touch points are more important now than they've ever been.
Actually, just to add on to that as well, like I think it's important for like when everyone does video calls, it's important to tune in with your cameras too, because we're also distant from each other, and hearing your voice, it's just to get updates, but sometimes it makes a huge difference, for the team dynamics and stuff. It does help to create more connectivity, if that makes sense as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, Karl was mentioning about the vulnerable people within our society, right? The P40 categories and whatnot. I think more than ever now, economy platforms play a larger role than ever had. I can share experiences in Hong Kong and Singapore where our HQ and sister company have noticed that since previous crisis, right, people losing their job, there's just a lot of demand to work alternative income jobs. So, people in middle income society and upper income society are not so badly affected. We like you said, they kind of live in a bubble still. So right, the economy keeps running anyway. It's down to platforms like us, like Pickupp, to ensure that we continue to reach out freelancers to say, hey, you want to work, join one of our online training courses, and offer them kind of, this is a short-term course, right? People need to figure this out from the medium to long term. But while they do that, they still gotta cari makan, they still gotta feed their families or whatnot. So I think it's really important that we all pull our weight in society, whether we're part of the gig economy and whatnot, to try to see if there are ways that we can help out, especially P40 sectors, and M40 sectors are also getting very stressed out because many are questioning whether they can remain in their jobs after this MCO. Would they lose their their role? There's already talks about like mass retrenchments even within banking industry or whatnot. It's scary out there, right? So I think the psychological impact that it will have on us as a society, from it's not something to be trifled with.
No, absolutely not. I think Magic had a report recently, right, where they actually predicted that within 3 months, 60% of the startups in Malaysia will have gone.
Yeah.
Space is also very quiet. Yeah. Very sad.
Yeah. I mean, interestingly, also yesterday I had a live stream with the Alibaba group as well. And I also shared with them that according to National Bank of Negara, it's an estimation of a 4% unemployment rate for 2020. So there will be a jump up. But what this means is when we come back to the topic of vulnerability, you see, it's not the workers that are vulnerable. You see, vulnerability comes from the survivability of the business. It is the business that needs to survive first, then only can the workers can be adaptive. So it's not that there's nothing wrong with my bellboy, or my desk manager that cannot do their job. They do fantastic job, but nobody is coming into the hotel. So I think as business owners, all of us here as listeners, whichever part of business that you play in, I think the most important part is think, how can your business survive? Because when you can adapt and survive, so does the chain of a domino effect will continue to survive as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, as of now, I think leaders should stand up to not assume that everything, especially when post MCO and everything will go back to normal. A lot of businesses have to rethink and re-strategize, reimagine, where the direction is, and try to turn things around rapidly, right, for the vision of the company and also the teams as well. So I guess that comes to my next question, actually. I think that's something that is on everyone's mind as well. Like, what are some of your plans, to ensure business sustainability throughout this phase and also post MCO? What do you think can employers do to create the new normal? Ian, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think if they haven't already been made obvious right now, definitely remote, connectivity by means of whichever sort of technologies out there is paramount. I'll give you a classic example of a sector which hasn't quite reacted as well so far. I noticed in the last 4 weeks, is obviously the school system, right? You look at the MOE and there is no clear guidelines still in terms of what's available for parents to continue having their kids learn and things like this, right? So, that's at a micro level from a parental perspective. But if you look at organizations who predominantly report in, clock in your punch card at 7 and then clock out at 5, they have no means of communicating now except for GSM calls and whatnot. So embracing all these technology as tools and continuing to check in on business functions, right? Whether they are operations, marketing, customer service, or whatnot. These are very important things that need to go on, right? People need some form of normalcy to return at some point, even pre or MCO right now.
I think to Ian's point about education and their failure to adapt. One key thing that I read recently was the fact that most 60% of the school-going population don't have access to the hardware that is necessary to facilitate this e-learning. So
there's a survey to say that about 90% of households already have data connectivity and some minimal devices, right? But the problem here is not only on the student side. The teachers are just not equipped. So, as a parent myself, I've already gone through this at least a dozen times with various teachers and tutors, right? I have to help them as a parent to onboard them on Zoom, to onboard them on Hangouts, to teach them how to use Sheets or Google Docs, right? So, it's I think we each, whether we are individuals, working for an organization or we're industry leaders or whatever it is, we have to do our part in helping each of our fellows to kind of cope with the new norm, as it were. You're talking even about business owners who have never been online, right? Offline to online. We've been talking about it because this is our sectors, right? But it's real. Like a lot of these F&B guys are just falling off like flies right now, and it's so sad because F&B business is such that you got heavy capex expenditure which you can never recover from. So how do you survive in an outlook like this? You can't unless you can fall back on delivery, or you have a way of listing your things directly yourselves, so you don't end up having to lose too much margins to food delivery platforms. So again, we have to pivot as a business to try to see if we can help that segment in the market. Yes, there's a revenue push aspect to why we're doing this, but on the other side also, there has to be options available to these people, right? We're not looking at it from the way traditional food delivery guys are looking at it. So, I think we have to react to this as citizens as well.
Yeah.
I think the first thing when you really, going back to the question, when you consider about business sustainability, I think the first thing for us was to evaluate our financial position and our financial health. I think as it was alluded to before, liquidity and cash management in these times are king. So we need to be very prudent and you need to prioritize cash related activities in the near term. So you're talking about managing your expenses, renegotiating contracts, renegotiating vendors, relooking at, some companies might even look at job cuts and stuff like that. But also in line, you need to look at generating revenue if you in any way that you can. So that might mean even consolidation or some kind of mergers or acquisition. So I think that's in the near term, that's very important for all businesses to ascertain the financial health. And beyond that, post MCO and this post COVID world, I think like a lot of people have been saying is the importance of reimagining your value proposition, reimagining your products and your services. And that it's very important to understand the position that each and every one of our stakeholders are in this post-COVID world. The social distance restrictions on gatherings and this general paranoia are the new norms in this post-COVID world. So we need to try to decode this shift and to understand how we can reinvent our businesses to bring back the business to scale as soon as possible.
Yeah, totally agree. I think the financial health of the organization is paramount. And I think if there's one thing that everyone on this webinar needs to do is just to examine every single expense line that you have, right, as a business, and really look at the ROI, right? And if you've been putting that off, now is the time. And then you are decisive. Hey, this particular technology tool that we've been paying $100 every month for, does it have an ROI? Make the call, make it within a minute. You can see from the data, cut it, and preserve your cash as quickly as possible. So that's the immediacy, right? Your cash control, finding new kind of revenue streams, supporting collapsed kind of business segments. And then, Ben was saying now we've got to be agile and think about the new normal. And I think there's a two-stage process to this. One is, yes, everyone has to be agile and to react to this new normal. But then from a hiring pipeline perspective or an HR or talent perspective, we need to start hiring for people that are a lot more adaptable, right? So you have to look for people with the skills that they are creative, that they are innovative type people, that they can deal with very ambiguous situations, right? And I think creativity and a creative education is very important, right? So now instead of looking at very kind of tactile skills like not tactile skills or skills like hard skills like hiring someone in a role for accountant that has a degree in accountancy with a CFA or CPA, we start looking into, do they have a background in the creative arts, right? Because we know that they can work in really ambiguous environments and be innovative and creative, right? So I think more concentration on finding people that are creative, because you know what? post lockdown, it's not going to get easier, guys. Post COVID, things are just going to get even harder, right? Because the world's even more uncertain, right? When is the next wave going to happen, and what's going to happen the next time, right? So prepare for a world that's not going to get easier, right? When we reemerge, we basically have to pick up the pieces, and someone's got to know how to put the jigsaw puzzle together.
Are there any assistance or efforts that any of you know that are out there right now that can assist startups or SMEs during this difficult time, during this time or even post MCO as well?
Actually, there's a tremendous amount of government support now that has been deployed for small and medium-sized businesses. So interest-free loans, there's grants, very low interest loans. So I think BSN is offering 0% loans for small businesses up to 75,000 ringgit. If you are, I think there's another type of loan you can get from mainstream banks now that offer a 3.5% interest loan with a 6-month repayment holiday, and then a 5-year repayment of that amount, and no collateral is required. And the amount of documentation that you need to submit is very minimal. So a lot of people are taking advantage of these kind of relief efforts. In terms of wage subsidies in Malaysia, if you have staff that are earning below, I think it's 4,000 ringgit, then you can apply to the government to subsidize a portion of their salary, so you don't have to let them go. In Singapore, there's actually wage subsidies for at least 6 months of up to 75% of an employee's salary.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Is there any other organizations out there that maybe people can reach out to during this time, like maybe especially for startups, like and there's even one question actually that I think is pretty good. One second, let me just.
I think the government has responded. Most governments around the world have responded to the financial aspect of this pandemic in terms of.
Yeah.
In a way, trying to assist businesses survive, maintain their cash flow position and whatnot. But like what we have been talking about prior to this is perhaps that we need to put more attention on the softer aspect of this kind of conversation. So I think us as an operator as well, something for us to look at is in terms of having these kind of soft touch points to help our members, go through things like PTSD, have a panel of medical professionals that we can consult, or business leaders or thought leaders that we can speak to when it comes to business leadership in navigating this through navigating these treacherous waters. I think that is a conversation that we also need to look into as well.
Yeah, I think Malaysia needs to have a fundamental conversation about what we're doing in terms of education as well. Because I talked about creativity and the kind of agile mindsets, that is imbued at a very early stage of childhood education. So I think that rote learning or the focus right now on very specific STEM skills without the creative aspect could be quite dangerous for us in, let's say, 50 years time or 30 years time when we have another pandemic. What's going to happen, Like how are people going to be agile to respond? If there's not a pandemic, there quite likely could be a war, what is happening now with the world? Everything is open, game, right? Like it's I really think there could be a war that comes out of this.
I see a comment by Jamie regarding experiences for secondary students back to education a little bit. Whether they have the right tools or even like the educators, they might not have the right tech support, right? Especially public schools as well. So, I just wanted to say that there's actually a lot of resources out there to actually assist educators and even parents. Really. I think like Ian can relate. He has 2 very cute boys in his house, and yeah, he's juggling as well, like with work. I think it's really hard for parents, right? Because right now students are all learning online and they're trying to, they have to monitor the kids. There's no kindergarten teacher or secondary school teacher monitoring them. So parents pretty much have to take the lead in educating and also, working and paying the bills and stuff. So yeah, there's actually a lot of resources online. Yeah, so hats off to all the parents out there, man. I know it's not easy, right? Because you gotta be 24/7, and it's also difficult for children to understand why they can't go out. So it's tough because like they're losing their mind. They want to see their friends and all that as well. I actually there's a really good question that I wanted to direct it to Sam. It's regarding So where do you see professional advisory consultancy services heading towards in the future? What sort of needs do you think businesses will be focusing on moving forward? So short, medium, long-term situation.
Okay, so I think in a simple nutshell, which we all actually agree to this, is that number one, every industry is vulnerable right now, right? You never know which industry will get hit. So in the professional consultancy and training right now, at this moment, everyone is jumping on the online gun, right? Trying to conduct trainings over online, giving live streams, having Zoom calls and whatnot. But this is only short term. Long term wise, what he has created is a habit, right? Consumers right now are very embedded in their mind that we need to keep this social distancing for at least a minimum 1 year, right? At least a minimum 1 year. So as a trainer, if we were to conduct any physical or either a face-to-face meetup, right now, the only way to continue to keep your business surviving is to see how your consumers are thinking about you. If communication, like for example, I were to meet Amelia, or I were to meet Ben personally, and they feel like, no, I think let's do a Zoom call or let's do a video call, then that's how this industry have pivoted. And look, during this month, young kids on the block who have all the tech tools out there, I mean, I quote and unquote Ben again, right? Because we are all young kids right now. Is that at this moment, I think a lot of business are still able to conduct when they leverage these kind of tools, right? So deals are still going on, negotiations are still going. So everything in business as usual is just going online. However, the offline is totally business not going as usual. So again, like I said, vulnerability, adaptability, how do you adapt your business to the current situation and moving forward? That's the most important part.
Thank you. I think just to sum up today's session, I think we were a bit overboard, but it's okay. Very good points today. I think we'll come up later. Any key messages that you would like to leave all businesses out there? Best practices on how to turn things around rapidly, cope with the stress situation. I think we got some really good points that from Karl. Ensuring that your team clock in and clock out. That kind of sets that kind of manages expectations on both ends, like when should they be reporting, so they know the difference as well. Using work applications like Slack, Trello, Asana, Monday.com, it really helps your team to be a bit more transparent of what they're working on, because now everyone's away. You can't really, let's face it, I'm sure, in and out, like everyone has different things going on throughout the day. I mean, everyone even showers at different times, right? Now it's not like it's 8 o'clock, everyone's like showering on the road at the same time. So everyone's kind of doing things different. I even have a friend who just posted that he only brushes his teeth at 4 because at 9 o'clock he really just has to grind. So I think that everyone has different routines now, like different work routines, right? So I think it's good to manage expectations with work applications. So make use of that. And I think also what Ben has shared, really good, renegotiate some of your contracts, look into generating like side revenues as well. And then Karl shared about cash controls. Really need to, if you gotta do it, man, right? Job cuts and whatnot. And mental health, I think we can't stress enough. We did a session on Saturday. I think some of you in the chat joined us as well, to touch on a little bit about how Pertiwi's teaching is doing, and befriend us as well. I think that there was some really good insights about how there were now, a lot of people who get abused, majority are women, right? And they're now living with their abusers. So most of the calls don't come in as frequent anymore as it used to be, because right now they're quarantined together with their abusers as well. So there's a lot of things that people just don't realize that's happening out there. But pay attention. Any way that anyone can help, that'd be great. Reach out to different communities. out there that are suffering, especially the OKU community as well. Yeah. So if there's any key messages, I think just to sum up today's session, what would it be, guys?
Maybe I can just give it a go first. Look, I think to all the listeners out there and businesses present, look, we're all in this boat together, right? I think patience is key. Life is precious. Let's not make any decisions out of haste because it may not be the best outcome for your business. I mean, this is not just a 6 km run. It's not a 10 km run. It is a marathon. So pace yourself. Like have that mindset to actually pace yourself.
On the converse side, actually, I think what Karl has done is also very commendable. I actually believe that speed and discipline is key in determining your success in turning around your business. I think the realities of this world have changed forever, for at least the medium term. So I think you need to plan and reinvent your business now. There's no reason to adopt a wait and see approach. I think that might be too late in that aspect.
Yeah, not wait and see, but pace.
They say fortune favors the bold and brave, right? So the key businesses that will survive after this are the ones that figure out a way to survive and pivot their business model. I think generally speaking, the advice I would give to the listeners out there is don't forget to continue networking out there. Yeah, there is a wealth of resources. 2020. If you don't want to look for it, it will come looking for you anyway, thanks to WhatsApp or whatever channels you're on. I, for one, have been called into many network meetings by friends just to kind of talk about, well, initially it was to talk about logistics, but then to talk about, a lot of other human matters as well that affect our lives on a daily basis now. So get involved with networks like BNI. There's so many out there, right? Business owners that are calling out for contact points from each other, help, referral, advice. I think if anything at all, just to continue to have a sense that you're not alone in this, right? There are lots of people in exactly your shoes, whether you're a single person stuck in your own condo by yourself, or you're a parent losing your mind with the kids, in and out of your face every day. There are so many people out there, and just continue to network out there and find ideas, right? How, live on.
Yeah. I think from me, two takeaways. I think one is like decisiveness, right? You now is the time to be very decisive, right? You need to accumulate as much information as you can. Know that it's not going to be perfect and things are changing, but be very decisive because you need to right now sprint for survival or reinvention. The second point is take care of your team members, right? Whether or not it is your direct employees or your business partners, because they need you now. They'll remember you for how you act during this period. Protect them. And one of the best ways to protect those is to get your place disinfected by disinfection.
Yeah, guys, it's disinfection to you, okay?
Watch out for imitations, because we've got one company that is kind of typo squatting our URL and kind of cloned everything, but that's not us.
I think that also keeps things exciting, right? I mean, it's a competition that comes in the way, and
this is the Malaysian
the Malaysian thing. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I think everyone got really good insights today, especially myself. I think back to checking in, if you haven't done that already, to all the viewers today, go and check in your teams, and also try to have time outside of work, because I think nowadays we connect with our colleagues during working hours, and after work hours sometimes just have just a call and chat just to catch up on just life, instead of just focusing on work, because I think that kind of stresses the relationship as well, with your teammates, time to time when it's just focused on work as well, right? So very good points. And thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time today to speak and share. We'll be having another segment next week that will be focusing more on F&B. So those of you who are tuned in and you'd like to learn more about what are F&B companies and businesses basically doing during this time to focus on changes and adapting to the new normal. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We're signing out. Give us a thumbs up on the right. If you have any comments or if you have any suggestions on what we should talk about during our next lab time chat, do let us know. We'll be more than happy to coordinate something that works for everybody. Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
All right, thanks, guys. Stay
Bye.
safe.
Thanks,
All
Carl.
right.
Thanks, Karl. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
thanks.
everybody.
All the
Bye-bye.
best. Stay safe.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.